There comes a point in life where even your birthday feels like a normal day. No butterflies. No excitement. No countdowns. Just another 24 hours passing by. Another reminder that time is still moving. Even when you're not sure if you are. You wake up, check your phone, see a few notifications. Happy birthday, bro. Wish you all the best. And you reply, thanks man. Maybe add an emoji, just to look alive. But when you put your phone down, there's this quiet emptiness that creeps in. Because deep down, it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like a mirror. A mirror that shows you how much has changed. And how much hasn't. When we were kids, birthdays were magic. They meant cake, friends, attention. And that one day where the world revolved around you. But now, the older you get, the less it feels like anyone's really looking. People get busy. Life gets louder. And the spotlight that once felt warm starts to fade quietly into the background. And you start saying things like, it's fine, I don't really care about birthdays anymore. But let's be honest, you do. Or at least, a part of you still does. That little kid inside you still waits. Hoping someone will remember without being reminded. That someone will look at you. Really look. And say, hey, I'm glad you exist. But when that doesn't happen, you pretend it doesn't matter. You tell yourself, I'm grown now. I don't need that. And maybe that's true. But sometimes maturity is just a softer word for loneliness. It's the art of making peace with things that still hurt. It's not about parties or gifts. It's about what those things represent. Attention. Care. Presence. The feeling of being chosen. Even if it's just for one day. When that fades, something inside you goes a little numb. Not broken, not bitter, just quiet. Psychologists call this emotional detachment. But I think it's more than that. It's emotional exhaustion. After years of giving, loving, showing up, and not always being met the same way, you slowly stop expecting. And that's when birthdays start feeling like any other day. Because they stopped being a moment of joy, and turned into a measurement of absence. You start looking back instead of forward. You think about who used to call. Who used to care. Who promised they'd never forget. And one by one, those people fade into memories. Not because they're bad. But because that's what time does. It scatters people. It rearranges priorities. And somewhere between all that, you start to outgrow the idea that a single day could fix everything you've been carrying all year. There's another reason birthdays feel different as you grow. Because every year adds a layer of self-awareness. You start measuring your life. Not in candles or gifts. But in progress. Am I where I thought I'd be by now? Did I become who I said I would? And when the answer is, not really, the celebration turns into quiet reflection. You sit there, smiling, cutting the cake. But your mind whispers. Another year gone. What did I really do with it? That's the part no one talks about. The invisible pressure of milestones. Society taught us that every age means something. At 18 you're supposed to know your path. At 25 you should be building. At 30 you should have it together. And when you don't, that one simple, happy birthday, starts to sound like a reminder that you're running late in a race you never signed up for. You know what's ironic? The people who say, birthdays don't matter, are usually the same people who still check their phone at midnight just to see who remembered first. They act like it's nothing. But deep down, there's always that one small hope. Because pretending not to care is still a form of caring. It's self-protection disguised as indifference. And that's the tricky part about growing up. You don't stop feeling. You just stop showing that you feel. You don't stop wanting love. You just stop expecting it to arrive on time. You start treating every good thing like a bonus instead of a right. And suddenly, something as innocent as a birthday becomes complicated. A day that used to scream joy now just whispers truth. If you've ever felt like that, like your birthday doesn't mean much anymore, I want you to know this. You're not cold. You're not heartless. You're not too grown for happiness. You've just lived long enough to see how fragile attention can be, and how rare genuine connection really is. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a psychological reason why your heart grows quieter around this time. It's not random. It's your mind's way of protecting you from emotional overstimulation. See, birthdays amplify everything. Your relationships, your self-image, your memories. Your brain senses that spotlight and goes, wait, that's too much. So it numbs you down. Not to punish you, but to keep you from drowning in reflection. It's your defense mechanism saying, let's not open that box today. And that's why you say things like, I don't feel anything. But deep down, you do. It's just buried under layers of calm. Because that's what growing up does. It teaches you how to hide your depth behind a steady tone and a soft smile. And yet, even in that silence, a small part of you still waits. It waits for that message from someone unexpected. For that one person who'll say something real. Not just, happy birthday. But, I'm proud of who you're becoming. And when that message doesn't come, you don't break. You just shrink a little inside. Like a candle that still burns, but with a smaller flame. But here's the thing. This isn't the end of the story. Because what happens next? When you stop expecting from the world and start understanding yourself, that's where everything changes. You see, when you stop feeling your birthday, it's not because the day lost its meaning. It's because you changed. You've grown layers. Not fake ones, but survival ones. Layers built from years of trying, waiting, forgiving. And realizing that not everything you give comes back the same way. So you learn to stay calm. You learn to say, it's fine. And slowly, the fire that once danced in your heart turns into a quiet candle, still burning, just softer. And maybe that's not sadness. Maybe that's maturity. The kind that doesn't need noise to feel alive. But still, there's something missing, isn't there? That raw excitement. That little spark that made you feel like you mattered. Psychologists say birthdays trigger what's called temporal self-awareness. It's when your mind compares who you are today to who you thought you'd be by now. It's like standing between your past and your future, watching both versions of you stare back. And that moment can feel heavy, because you realize how much you've lived through, and how much you've silently survived. That's why sometimes birthdays feel more like checkpoints than celebrations. You're not celebrating life. You're evaluating it. You're scanning every corner of yourself, asking questions no cake or candle can answer. Am I doing enough? Am I becoming someone I can be proud of? And when those answers aren't clear, the whole day just feels off. Like you're present, but not really there. But here's what most people don't realize. The older you get, the quieter your happiness becomes. It's not loud anymore. It's not about parties or attention. It's about the peace of knowing you made it through another year. Even when some days didn't feel worth it. You see, the mind matures faster than the heart. The mind says, I'm fine. But the heart still wants to be seen. It still wants that, hey, "I didn't forget about you." That message. That warmth. That validation. So maybe birthdays don't stop feeling special because they're meaningless. But because we stopped letting ourselves feel. We traded wonder for logic. We replaced magic with maturity. And in the process, we forgot that joy doesn't always have to make sense. It just needs space. But here's the beauty. Even if your birthday feels quiet this year, you can still reclaim it. Not by waiting for people to show up, but by showing up for yourself. Maybe you don't need 100 messages. Maybe you just need one honest moment, where you sit with yourself and say, "I'm proud of me. For getting through things no one saw. For showing up every single day, even when no one clapped. For being your own reason to keep going." Because sometimes, self-love isn't about flowers or affirmations. It's about realizing that you've quietly carried what would have broken someone else, and you still found a way to smile in pictures. That's worth celebrating. That's worth 1,000 parties. That's a kind of victory no one else can gift you. But I know, it's hard. It's hard not to feel that tiny sting. When no one remembers. When the day feels too ordinary. It's okay to feel that. You don't have to act like you're above it. Let it hurt a little. Let it remind you that you still care. Because that pain is just love that hasn't found a place to land yet. And maybe this year, instead of pushing it away, you can sit with it. Breathe. Let yourself remember. The people who stayed, the ones who left. The versions of you that lived in between. Then ask yourself, if no one else celebrated me today, could I still choose to celebrate me? Not with noise, but with truth. Because the truth is, you don't need a party to mark your existence. You just need awareness. That you're still here, still trying, still becoming. And that's something not everyone gets to say. You know, there's a quiet power in outgrowing your need for external validation. At first, it feels lonely. But then, one day, you wake up and realize that peace has replaced expectation. That you can enjoy your coffee, your morning, your air, and not feel like you're missing out. Because the celebration isn't outside anymore. It's within you. And when you reach that place, that's when birthdays start to mean something again. Not as reminders of age, but as reminders of growth. Not as events you expect others to create, but as moments you build for yourself. So if your birthday feels quiet this year, let it be quiet. Let the silence become your soundtrack. Light your candle anyway. Make your wish, not for things, but for peace. For softness. For the strength to keep becoming. The version of you that no one else can imagine yet. Because at the end of the day, the world doesn't owe you celebration. But you owe yourself acknowledgement. You owe yourself gratitude. And you owe yourself love. The kind that doesn't expire when the cake is gone. So the next time your birthday comes around, and it feels like just another day, remember this. Maybe that's not a sign that you've lost joy. Maybe it's a sign you found peace. Because true celebration isn't about being seen by the world. It's about finally seeing yourself. Clearly, fully, and kindly. And that realization, that's the best gift you'll ever get.